I'm Happy Traum. I'm glad you joined me today because I think before very long you're going to be able to play a tune like that and hundreds of other tunes on the 5-string banjo. It's a wonderful instrument. It's got a real sparkly, joyful sound, and there's a lot of things you can do with the banjo. It's a unique instrument. It's one of the truly American instruments, although it did start out in Africa, and there are many instruments in Africa now that you can see that have similar qualities to the banjo. It's basically a drum, a cylinder with a skin stretched across it. Nowadays, the skin, just like on regular drums, is often made of plastic, which makes it easier because in soggy, wet weather, it doesn't get damp and then stretch in dry weather and get tight. You can keep it to a pretty good consistency regardless of what's happening with the atmosphere around you. So plastic does have its benefits, although a good goat skin or some other kind of animal skin sometimes gives it a much more authentic sound. The banjo basically, and I'd like to show you some of the parts of the banjo just to get you started so you can really get a good sense of what's going on here, since this is presumably the first time you've picked up an instrument like this. Although if you have one, you've probably fooled around with it a little bit. This part of the banjo, called the head, sometimes the skin itself is called the head as well. The skin is tightened by brackets. All these, same as on a drum, just the brackets tighten down the rim, which is this metal part all around here, which of course stretches the head of the banjo, the skin of the banjo, and makes it as tight or as loose as you want. And the tighter the banjo, the crisper the sound. The looser the skin, of course, the sound is going to get much more kind of a looser sound. This, you may or may not have one of these on your banjo. This is an armrest. Some banjos have them, some don't. You can get one to put on. They just attach, just like the brackets, just attaches onto the rim of the banjo, and it just makes a convenient place to rest your forearm when you're playing the banjo. Saves a little wear and tear on your wrist. Sometimes these brackets can tend to be a little bit abrasive, so this just protects you a little bit. Down here we have what's called the tailpiece. The tailpiece is where the strings are attached on one end, and the strings stretch across the bridge, which is this little wooden piece here. And I'll say a little bit more about the bridge in a minute. And of course the strings go down the neck of the banjo, this being the neck, across the nut, which is this little bone piece, or sometimes it's plastic or celluloid or some kind of material here, and attaches to the tuning posts, which are these pieces here, and of course you have your tuning pegs to tune the instrument up, which loosen or tighten the strings. Of course, the looser they are, the lower the pitch. The tighter they are, the higher the pitch. Along the fingerboard, we have the frets. And the frets on the banjo, or just as on the guitar, give you a marker point for the different notes that are created when you fret the instrument or put your finger down and stop the string. And each time you move up a fret, musically your tone is going up by a half step or a half tone up. Okay, now sometimes you'll see a banjo that does not have frets along the neck like this one does, and not surprisingly, those are called fretless banjos. A lot of times they use in old-time mountain music, and they have a lot more of a slippy, slidey sound to them. And it's a lot harder to find the actual notes. It takes a little more practice, similar to a violin, or sometimes you'll see a fretless bass and some other instruments. But believe me, having frets on the instrument really does help, especially when you're starting out. Now, this banjo, although it's called a 5-string banjo, really is a 4-string banjo with a drone string. You'll notice that there are 4 strings that are attached down here to the head, the tuning head of the banjo, and one string, the fifth string, which is up here. And the fifth string on the five-string banjo is the highest in pitch. And the reason that this string starts about halfway up the neck is because it's the highest string, and the shorter the scale, the higher you can tune a string. So since we're not fretting or playing that fifth string with the left hand, we don't need it to come all the way down to where the other strings are. So we can start it halfway up. It can be tuned much higher, and as this tape goes on, you'll even see where we might want to tune it higher than it is now. And that's a drone string, which means that that pitch doesn't change. No matter what we do with the left hand, changing chords, there it is. Even if it doesn't quite fit the chord, it stays there as a drone. See that? It's always the same pitch. So this adds an element of rhythm to the song that you play, and it also adds that ringing sound that's very distinctive and makes the banjo such a unique sounding instrument. All right, let's get started playing now that we've got an overview of the instrument. Sit in a comfortable straight back chair, first of all. You don't want to sit on a floppy couch or someplace where you're going to be slumped over. You want to sit fairly straight and get the banjo set right between your legs. You spread your legs just slightly apart to give a nice cradle for the instrument so that it's secure and it doesn't slip and slide around too much. And as you can see, the neck of the banjo is set at an angle, and this you can do according to what's comfortable for you. I like it at about, it looks like about a 45-degree angle to my body. Some people like it a little lower, maybe like this. Some people maybe like it higher, like this. So you get kind of the way you feel comfortable holding the instrument. Okay, and have it back to your chair so you can lean back if you want. The banjo tends to be a heavy instrument because of all this hardware around it, so you want to be able to sit comfortably and securely. At some point, you'll probably want to start trying to stand up and use a strap with the banjo, and that's a whole other thing we can get into later on. Okay, now the banjo is interesting because it can be tuned in a lot of different ways. There's one way that's the most widely used tuning for the banjo, and that's what's called open G tuning, and that's what we're going to start with because it's tuned to an open chord. So if you get your banjo kind of comfortable in your lap and let's try to get the banjos in tune together. I'm going to give you some notes, and what you're going to do is try to adjust the tuning pegs so that your note matches mine. And the first note we'll start with is this first string, which is a D note. Now, see if you can either tighten or loosen your tuning peg, and make sure you have the right tuning peg for that string. You might need to follow it down to the end there. And usually that string is attached to this first tuning peg on the one closest to you on the bottom here. And try to get that right in tune with me. Okay? If you need to, stop the tape and rewind and get that tone again. And for the future, you might also want to get either a pitch pipe, a tuning fork. If you have a piano around the house, that'll help you get in tune. This is a D note. Or you might even want to get an electronic tuner, which will help you tune the instrument. Okay, the next note is a B. Tune that peg. Okay? Listen very carefully. Sometimes it's a little hard to hear whether you're too high or too low, so you want to work at that. Develop your ear so you can really hear. So here's your D, the first string, and now your B. And if those are in tune, move on to your third string, which is a G note. Okay, that's this tuning peg right here. Okay, so now you have your D, B, and G. And those are 3 notes of a G chord. Right there you have a G chord. G, B, D. It's called a G triad. G, B, D. Now your 4th string is a D again. It's an octave lower than your 1st string. And that's this tuning peg right here. Try to get that in tune. It should be just an octave below your 1st string. And now you've got to tune up your 5th string. And that's, of course, the string right here. And that's a high G. That's an octave above your 3rd string. Hear that? It's the same note, just an octave above. So once again, if you stop the tape, and you need to, go back over this till your banjo is right in tune with mine, and when you strum all 5 strings, you should get a very nice G chord. It's called an open G because you don't have to do anything with your left hand. Just can leave your left hand at your side and strum that, and you have a chord. So what you have here, you have a D on the 1st string and an octave below that. So you have 2 Ds, you have 2 Gs, and a B. And just get kind of comfortable strumming the banjo. Just brush down maybe with the back of your fingernails or even with your thumb. Just get a sense of the sound. And let's start picking the banjo right away. Let's just take your thumb and just start picking out by picking downwards towards the floor. Pick the different strings. And you can do it at random. You can skip some strings. Just play around with it a little bit and see if you can hear the different notes of the chord. You can almost hear a tune out of that. Now, your thumb picks down. If you were to use your 1st finger, you'd pick up. Okay, now the first kind of playing that I want to start working on with you is called 2-finger style or mountain style playing. I think it's the easiest way to get started on the banjo, and I think you'll find that very quickly you'll be playing well enough with this style to be amazing your friends and yourself. And as I said at the beginning of the tape, it's really a lot of fun to do this. I think you'll find that you'll get a lot of satisfaction very quickly and really be amazed at how fast you'll be able to pick this up if you just stick with it a little bit. It may take a little bit of practice, a little bit about getting used to this, but keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, and try to follow along with what I'm doing. And I think in no time you'll find that you're having a lot of fun with the banjo and really making music, which is, of course, what it's all about. Let's get started with a picking style here. Now, I said this is 2-finger picking, and what we're going to be doing is using the thumb and index finger. So get your hand rested kind of comfortably on the head or skin of the banjo. And you can rest your pinky or even your ring finger right there just to kind of give yourself a little anchor. But make sure you keep your index finger and your thumb free. And let's try picking down on the G string, that's the 3rd string of the banjo, with your thumb. Now pick up on the 1st string with your index finger. So down with the thumb, up with the index finger. Do it again. Over and over again. You're playing a G and a D. Okay? Very easy. Okay, let's keep that in a nice rhythm, a nice even rhythm. Now let's bring the thumb up and play the 5th string and the 1st string. Okay, now let's go to the 3rd string, the G string, the 1st string, the 5th string, and the 1st string, and we have a little pattern. 3, 1, 5, 1. Okay, let's keep doing that a little bit. 3rd string, 1st string with your index finger, thumb on the 5th string, again, index finger. Now, get a nice little rhythm going. If you have to pat your foot, just tap your foot along with it. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Speed it up a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Got it? Okay, a little faster. Now try to pick perpendicular to the string. You don't want to hold your hand in such a way that you're sort of going along the string because you're not going to get a good sound out of it. And we're not using finger picks, so we need to use a little bit of our fingernail to get a sound. What I do is I start the string on the fleshy part of my finger and then let it just catch a little bit of the nail to give it a little sharpness. Same with the thumb. Okay? Now let's try. Start on the 3rd string. Pick your 1st string, 5th string, 1st string. Now go down with your thumb to the 2nd string and do the same pattern. And you can alternate between the 3rd string and the 2nd string. Or you can go to the 4th string. 3rd string, 4th string. So what you're doing really is you're setting up 2 drones. You're playing a basic note with your thumb, and then you're making a drone with your index finger on the 1st string and your thumb on the 5th string, and then the index finger again. So you're getting kind of a little melodic note here with your thumb, but then you're surrounding it with other notes, drone notes. Here it's getting a little bit melodic. Okay, now what you want to do right now is just practice that for a while. If it's easy for you, if you find that you're just being able to do that, like falling off a log, then let's try adding something else to it. Let's take it and let's leave out a note. Let's play that bass note with your thumb. Now, instead of playing that index finger here, let's just leave it alone, skip that beat, then play your 5th string and your 1st string again. So now you have a little 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. What I'm doing is just leaving one note out. See that? It's giving it a little more bounce. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1, 2 and 1 and 2 and. Make sure you don't try to fill in that like that. Make sure you leave that 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. And I'm just randomly playing different notes with my thumb. And you can alternate between the 1st one and the 2nd one. Got it? Okay, now you can practice both of those things. And once you've got those, I'll give you one more pattern, and then we can start really playing a tune. And this is not any harder, in fact, it's even easier than the last one we did, because now what you're going to do is play a bass note with your thumb, and then pinch the 5th string and the 1st string together, like this. 1 and 2 and 1, 2. See that? So now what you want to do is play and then throw in. You have 3 different things to do. Okay, so what you want to do now is stop the tape or rewind the tape and go back over this until this seems to be coming very naturally and easily. You have 3 different things that you want to be able to mix up and play at random. And once you can do that, then we can start putting this to work in a tune. Okay, now let's switch from the right hand and look at the left hand a little bit. Now we know we have a G chord here, and if we want to alter those notes in the chord, anytime you want to raise a note, you'd have to press it down with your left hand to change the pitch. And what you want to do is make sure that you press the string down right near the fret wire, and press it down firmly enough so that it gives you a clear sound without buzzing. Now what I'm doing is I'm pressing down the 4th string, my lowest string, with my 2nd finger, that's my middle finger, at the 2nd fret. And you can see when I say the 2nd fret, I mean I'm just to the left of that 2nd fret wire right there. Just to the left of it. If you don't press that down hard enough, you're going to get a sound either like this or like this. If you're not close enough to the fret, you're also going to get that buzzing sound, very unpleasant. So you want to be up near the fret, press it firmly down. Now let's try first plucking. Now I'm playing with this note with my thumb on the right hand. Try getting both notes in there. Got it? Now let's try the next string and do the same thing on the 3rd string. 4th string. And what I'm doing is I'm raising that up by 1 whole step, so I'm going from a D to an E. D to an E, and here I'm going from a G to an A, because I'm raising this pitch up by 1 whole note. Let's try the 2nd string. Now if I do this on the 2nd fret, that sounds off, doesn't it? It mainly sounds off because our ears are now in tune with the key of G. And in the key of G, since this is a B note, going up a whole step puts it into a C sharp note. And what we really want is a C natural. So we want to go to the 1st fret when you're on the 2nd string. And I'm using my index finger, my 1st finger there. So open, 1st fret. Okay? And when I go to my 1st string, it's the 2nd fret again. And again, I'm using my 2nd finger. So let's try going up all of the strings, starting with the 4th to the 4th string, 2nd fret, 3rd to the 2nd fret, 2nd string and 1st fret, and open 1st string to the 2nd. Now sometimes you might want to use this finger also for that. You can use either 2nd finger or your 3rd finger. And come back down again. Try going up again, a little faster. down again. And this is your G chord. Now these are all notes that you'll find when playing songs in the key of G with this G chord. What you're doing is you're just altering some of these notes, and you can almost hear there is a tune. Let's just look at the right hand for a minute. Now I'm just picking these at random. You can do this any way you want. Now I'm going to bring my left hand in, and my thumb is going to pick, let's say, the 4th string, and then fret that 4th string of the 2nd fret. Try doing this with me now. And remember, the thumb is the one that's playing the melody note or the lead. Go to the 3rd string. Okay, go back to the 4th string. Third string. How about the 2nd string? Remember, that's on the 1st fret. Now it doesn't matter whether you're doing the strum exactly as I'm doing it. Just try to keep in rhythm with me. If I'm doing this movement and you're doing this movement, it doesn't matter. It'll go together anyway. Okay, let's take a look at it up close again. I'm on the 3rd string now. Go to the 2nd string. I'm slowing it down even further. Now, if you wanted to go to the 1st string, you're going to have a little bit of difficulty because you're going to be going down and up both on the 1st string. It can be done, but another way to do that is by just finding the same note on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. You hear how that, if this is a B, and this is a C, and this is a D, well, a D is what this note is anyway, open. So we can go, see that? So by using the 2nd string at the 3rd fret, we're getting that same note, and it makes a nice drone there, those D notes. And come back down. Okay, now what you should do is experiment with this a little bit. Try just playing at random different notes. Just make sure that you're coordinating which note your thumb or which string your thumb is playing with which string you're fretting, so that you're not fretting a string that you're not actually plucking with your right hand. So just at random, nice and slow, get a good steady rhythm going. See what you can make up. You can hear there's a tune in there just bursting to come out. Now, the only thing you have to do different to get a tune out of that is to know which notes to play in any given tune. And this is actually pretty easy. You can actually pick out notes. If you know where to start, you can develop your ear so that you can hear the notes to a tune right in those very notes that you're playing. And I'd like to start right now getting into the song that I was playing right at the beginning of this tape. It's called My Home's Across the Smoky Mountains. If If you don't know that song, I'll sing it for you one time so you can hear how the melody goes. The song just goes like this. My home's across the Smoky Mountains. My home's across the Smoky Mountains. My home's across the Smoky Mountains, my love, and I never expect to see you anymore. Now, this is a song that has two chords. The first chord is, of course, a G chord, and that's what most of the song is, just a G chord. At one time, you'll hear it changes chords. My homes, you can hear that it doesn't go with that G chord. So we have to find a chord with our left hand. And here's your first fretted chord that we're going to be doing. This is a D seventh chord. Your first finger goes on the C note. You've already been playing that note by itself. Your second finger goes on the A note, which you've also been playing, right? That's your third string, second fret, and second string, first fret. And if you strum that all together, you get a D seventh chord. D seventh goes with the G chord in a wide variety of songs. There are dozens of songs that just have those two chords. And, oh, you can sing, down in the valley so low. And you can hear where the chord changes very easily, too, because you'll know that it doesn't go, the valley so low. You have to change chords. Low, hang your head over. And you can hear when it comes back to G, it's called resolving back to your original chord, or the root chord, or the one chord. Hear the wind blow, okay? Or go tell Aunt Rhody, go tell Aunt Rhody, go tell Aunt Rhody, the old gray goose is, and hear it resolve back, dead. Or how about, he's got the whole world in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hand. So you can see how that G and D seventh work together. They work together like hand and glove. Now, when we're playing My Home's Across the Smoky Mountains, those same two chords work perfectly the same way. Listen to it one more time and see if you can hear ahead of time when that chord is going to change, and maybe even try it with me. And for now, just try strumming the chords. Don't even worry about picking them. Let's just do it together. Ready? Starting on G. My home's across the Smoky Mountains. My home's across the Smoky Mountains. Come on now. My home's across the Smoky Mountains, my love, and I never expect to see you anymore. Okay, there it is, just two chords. Now, let's say we want to pick that out in this mountain picking style, this two-finger style. Let's find the first melody note. My home, well, it sounds like it's right there on that B. The song goes, my home's across the Smoky Mountains. So there's the note. You have to use your ear a little bit for this. My home's across the Smoky Mountains. Now let's put some of that picking with it. it again. Let's go to the next line. My home, that's where it goes to a D7th. Home. Now that note isn't part of the D7th, even though you're playing a D7th, that note's a B. Across the Smoky Mountains, my home's across the Smoky Mountains, my love, and I never expect to see you anymore. Now, if you follow the tablature that we're sending along with this tape, you'll be able to see very clearly how this works. And I think what you should do is try going over that, working with the tablature, working with the tape, try it on your own, see if you can do it by ear, and see what you can come up with. I think you'll find that pretty soon it'll start to be clear how this works, even if it seems a little bit confusing now. If you want to sing along with the song, you can take these picking patterns that we were talking about before and just use those to sing with it. Let's take a different verse. Let's say I'm leaving on a Sunday morning, for instance. I'm leaving on a Sunday morning. I'm leaving on a Sunday morning. I'm leaving on a Sunday morning, my love. D7th, never expect to see you anymore. Now, very slowly, what I'm doing is just playing at random. I'm playing some bass notes and different variations of that strum. There were 3 different things we were doing. And just changing chords to D7th when the time comes. Another verse would be, how about Rock My Baby, Feed Her Candy. Let's try this. Rock my baby, feed her candy. Change to D7th. Rock my baby, feed her candy. Rock my baby, feed her candy, my love. D7th, never expect to see you anymore. Now we can try playing the melody again. D7th. Now, the beauty of learning a song like this is that once you learn this one, there are dozens and dozens of other songs just like it that you can play very easily. So dig into it and really get to work on it. There are also some wonderful little techniques that you can do on the banjo that are fairly simple, but that really add a lot to the character of a song, especially these traditional banjo songs. For instance, if you take your 4th string, pluck the string open, and then fret it by coming down with your 2nd finger hard enough to raise the pitch of the string without actually plucking it again. This is called a hammer-on. Just come right down really hard like a little hammer with your 2nd finger. You see that? I'm picking the string open and then coming down, only picking it once, and changing the string. Try it on the 3rd string, rather. fourth string. Now try doing that in the context of the strum. Play the fourth string, hammer on, fifth string, open first, and then your third string open. So it's a little riff like this. Try it on the third string. Fourth string. Now watch my Homes Across the Smoky Mountains and see how I use that in there. Oh, you can even hammer up there on the third string of that second fret. A little faster now. So you see how that hammer-on works in there. Just practice that little lick, and I think you'll get it in no time. Now, using the same technique, I think it would be a good idea to switch and do another song, just so we have a little variety in our lives, and so you can see how once you learn this one song, My Home's Across the Smoky Mountains, it opens up a whole realm of possibilities. Here's another one of my favorite old-time mountain ballads. You probably know it too. It's called Handsome Molly. It's got two chords again, just G and D7. It goes like this. Well, I wish I was in London or some other seaport town. There's your D7. Set my foot in a steamship and back to G. Sail the ocean round. Sailing round the ocean, sailing around the sea, thinking of handsome Molly wherever she might be. Now let's do it with the strum. You can get the hammer on in there. Don't you remember, Molly, you gave me your right hand. You said that we would marry and I would be your man. Now you broke your promise, go marry whom you please. While my poor heart is aching, you're lying at your ease. Here's the chorus again. Sailing round the ocean, sailing round the sea, thinking of handsome Molly wherever she might be. Now let's try to pick out the melody. Listen to how it goes. Wish I... Well, there's the note right there, the fourth string. Wish I was in London or some other seaport town. Set my foot on, right up to the first string. Set my foot on a steamship. I'm using an open second string a lot here. And sail the ocean round. See how simple that melody is. Here it is with the strum. I'll do it very slowly. Follow along the tablature if you need to. D string open gives you a nice modal feeling, that feeling of the mountains. See it? Here's a little faster now. Okay, I hope that was clear to you and that you'll be able to pick that up either from watching the video or by going through the tablature and picking it up from there. Once again, as I said, there are hundreds and hundreds of songs you can do in this style. And what I'd like to do now is show you a number of different ones without going into them quite as much detail, but I'll play them slowly. You can watch them up close. You can follow them on the tablature. You'll have all this written out for you. So you'll really be able to pick it up because we only have so much time in this tape and there's a lot more I want to get to. Let's try another old mountain song. This one's called Cumberland Gap. And this one has one little difference, and that is that it goes up to not only the first string open, but it goes to the first string second fret, which makes an E minor chord. Let me show you that chord up close here. It's your fourth string second fret and your first string second fret. So here's your G. Here's your E minor. Now when we play the song, instead of going to this note, because of this picking style, we're going to go from the second string third fret, and we're going to get that same note at the second string fifth fret. So we're going to slide way up to there. And the song is called Cumberland Gap, and here's the way it goes. Come on, boys, take a little nap. There's your E minor chord. All going down to Cumberland Gap, Cumberland Gap, Cumberland Gap. 16 miles to the Cumberland Gap. Now here it is playing it. See that up there? Now I'm going to throw that note in. There's a note we haven't seen yet. That note is an F-sharp note. It's up at the fourth fret, and it's really part of the D7th chord. We don't have to play it, but if we did stretch way over there, you can hear that it's still part of that chord. But sometimes when we're playing and we want to lead up to that, you can either play it with your little pinky, which is the easiest one to reach with, or you can use your ring finger for that, and it leads into that G. It's the next note below the G. So when I'm playing Cumberland Gap, my wife's pap, we all went down to the Cumberland Gap, Cumberland Gap, Cumberland Gap. 16 miles to Cumberland Gap. Cumberland Gap, heck of a place. 3 kinds of water for to wash your face. Cumberland Gap, Cumberland Gap, all going down to Cumberland Gap. Now notice I hammered on up at that third fret on the second string just to get a little bit more boost into this thing. And I also slid up. Now you can take that finger, that second finger, and just slide it up, and you get another kind of a banjoistic kind of quality there. Better than just going, it's you pick the note and then slide it. So it's similar to the hammer-on. See that? I'll do it very slowly. Hammer-on here. Hammer-on second string. Pick and slide. And finish the strum. Here it is again. All right, now there's one more technique that's really important, and that'll sort of fill out a lot of the left-hand techniques we'll need to know to get these special little banjo twists in. And that's the opposite of a hammer-on, and it's called a pull-off. It's also called left-hand pizzicato. If you're a classical violinist, that's what you'll hear about. In fact, Pete Seeger, on his video, his How to Play the Five-String Banjo video for Homespun, talks about how his mother, who was a classical violinist, always made him say left-hand pizzicato rather than pulling off, which is what I think he coined that term, as a matter of fact. If you fret a string with your left hand, let's say the A or the second fret, third string, pluck that string, and then without plucking it again, take your left hand and pull it so that you get the sound of the open string. So it's the opposite of a hammer-on. Try it on the fourth string. You could do it on the second string, first fret with your first finger. You can go first fret, third string, second fret, fourth string, second fret. You have to be a little careful not to pull off so hard you sound the other strings. Takes a little practice, but so if you were playing Cumberland Gap, for instance, I just pulled off right there, again there, and then hammer on, watch it again. Here it is up to speed. Well, I bet you never thought you'd be able to do that. If you can get that up to speed like that, you'll be playing banjo like nobody's business, and everybody will be really impressed who hears you. So it's a lot of fun to throw these little things in, and I'm going to show you a few other things that you can throw in as well, or show you some other places where you can throw these little gadgets in here and there. You remember that E minor chord I showed you before? Well, it's a real short distance from that E minor chord to a C chord, which is another important chord in the key of G. And all you have to do is take that configuration there and take your first finger and put it down on the C note, which is your second string, first fret. You've been playing that note anyway. And this gives you a C chord in the G tuning. Okay, that's your C chord. Try picking up and playing your open G. Back to your C. Now it's a short distance to the D7th. Just keep your first finger right down there. Move your second finger down to your A note on the third string, second fret, and pick up your ring finger. Go back to your C. Back to your D7th. And back to your open G. Let's try a song with three chords now, with the G, the C, and the D7th. Okay, here's a really famous old cowboy ballad called Jesse James, which you probably know too, and it goes like this. Jesse James was a lad, goes to C now, killed many a back to G man. He robbed the Glendale train, there's your D7th, He stole from the rich, back to C, gave to the poor, with a hand and a heart and a brain. Now it goes to C. Jesse had a wife, back to G, mourned for his life. 3 children, they were brave, but the dirty little coward that shot, as you see, Mr. Howard, has laid Jesse James in his grave. Now here it is with the strum. Jesse James was a lad, try with me now, see, killed many a man. He robbed the Glendale train. He stole from the rich and he gave to the poor, with a hand and a heart and a brain. See, Jesse had a wife, mourned for his life. 3 children, they were brave, but that dirty little coward who shot Mr. Howard has laid poor Jesse in his grave. Now, let's see if we can pick out the melody here. I'll do it very slowly for starters, and see if you can follow what I'm doing, and then work on it with the tablature, and then come back to the video and see if you can do it yourself. Here it is, very slowly now. I'm getting it started here. Okay, here we go. C. See how the notes fit right into the chords. Whoops. Hammer on. Now here's the chorus. C. Had a wife who G mourned for his life. 3 children, they were brave. D7. But the dirty little coward who shot Mr. Howard has laid poor Jesse in his grave. Now let's try it with some hammer-ons. That's that F sharp. C. This is the chorus now. There's a little pull off. Now, this style of picking, this 2-finger mountain style, is only one way of playing the banjo. There are lots of others. As you know, there's a whole other style called bluegrass, which, if you want to get into, Pete Wernick has a fabulous tape out called Beginning Bluegrass Banjo, and Bill Keith has a tape out, Tony Trischka. There's lots of tapes on bluegrass. But I'm sticking to some other styles, and there's another way of playing that Pete Seeger really brought to prominence. He called it up-picking, and I want to show you this because it's a whole different sound and a different style of playing, and it really has to do primarily with what you do with the right hand. So let's get into a different right hand style now. And you don't have to use any of these exclusively. You can switch back and forth. Some songs you might like in the two-finger style, some you might like in this up-picking style. You might want to even vary them. You might want to take half and half, put some of the mountain picking in and then switch to up picking and then switch back again and just be flexible with it. Well, this is the style that Pete Seeger made famous, and I'm just going to show it to you. Just watch my right hand now. Playing with an open G, I'm going to start out with my first finger on the first string, and I'm going to pick that note up by itself. Now notice how when I pick the note up, my hand naturally comes into a curled position. This is good because what I'm going to do is brush down with the back of my fingers across the maybe 3 or even 4 strings. Okay, so I'm picking up and then brushing down. Up, brush down. Now I brush down with these 2 fingers. Some people brush down with the 3rd finger, some with the 1st finger. You can do it any way that's comfortable for you. Pick up and brush down. Now notice that my thumb is up here resting on the 5th string. At the end of the brush, the thumb is right there on the 5th string, and what I want you to do now is just pluck the thumb on the 5th string as your hand comes up. See that? And you're ready for the next pluck up with your 1st finger. And the rhythm here is it's like a quarter note and 2 eighth notes. You play up for 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Do it with me now. And 1 and 2. Have a very relaxed right hand. Now you'll also notice that I'm not anchoring my fingers down the way I was with the 2-finger style. It's much easier to do this with a free hand. And 2 and 1 and 2. Nice and relaxed. Try picking the 2nd string now. And brush thumb. Brush thumb. Got that? Do it with me. Try the 3rd string. 4th string. Now try going from the 1st string, 2nd string, 3rd string, 4th string, and back again. Oops. And try building up speed gradually. Nice, even. Just stay on 1 string for a while if you want, just to. And go to the next string, and you should gradually. Make sure that all of your motions are very fluid and even, and that all of your notes are nice and even as well, so that your pick note, your strum note, and your thumbed 5th string are all about the same dynamic quality. Now this is a traditional style of playing, but Pete Seeger made it so popular that many people call it Pete Seeger style playing. He doesn't call it this himself. Of course, he used to call it up-picking or the basic strum. So let's try this now. Try picking your 4th string, and let's get our left hand into it as well. Try picking your 4th string open. Now hammer on with your left hand. Then brush and 5th string. Pick, hammer, strum, 5th string. These are all even now. 1 and and 2 and 3 and 4 and a little faster. Now let's alternate that between just picking your third string and brush, thumb. So it's hammer, brush, thumb, third string, brush, thumb. That's a nice rhythm, and this is a nice accompaniment for a song. Another thing you can do is pull off on your first string. Now you're not even going to be playing the first string with your right hand. You're going to be playing, let's say you play the fourth string, pull off, then brush, thumb, like this. This is another technique that Pete uses when he's singing. Might sound familiar to you. So once again, it's pick a string, pull off your first string, brush, thumb. Very slowly. A little faster. Now let's try the hammer-on one. You can mix them up. You can also do it with a D7th. What Pete often does is he'll pick and then pull off with that third finger. And then G. Now, I highly recommend the tape that Pete Seeger did for Homespun called How to Play the Five-String Banjo. It's got a lot of these techniques in it, and he really shows how he puts them to use in his own inimicable way. And Pete has been a major influence on my playing and my music and thousands, millions of other people over the years. So I think his tape is definitely worth looking into after you've completed this one. Here's a hoedown type song, a square dance tune that you can play with this up-picking style. It's got the three chords, G, C, and D7, and it's got lots of those hammer-ons, pull-offs, and slides that I've been showing you. Why don't I do it one time for you up to speed or close to speed, and I'll sing a little bit so you can hear how the song itself goes, and then we'll break it down, slow it down for you so you can play along with me. Well, all I want in this creation's a pretty little wife and a big plantation. Hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie, hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie, hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie, hey. Yes, all I need to keep me happy is two little kids to call me Pappy. Hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie. Hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie. Hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie. Hey. Well, that's the general idea. There's lots of choruses and verses to the song, but there's two of them anyway, the only ones I could think of at the moment. If I wanted to slow that down, well, I started out with this basic strum with the hammer-on. Do it real slow for you. Here's the way the song goes now. Well, all I need in this creation, there's a C chord, back to G, pretty little white plantation. Now it just goes, hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie. Hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie. Hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie. Hey. You can also do that pull-off. All I need to make me happy. There's a C, and back to G. 2 little kids to call me Pappy. There's your D7. Hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie. See that pulling off on the first string? Black-eyed Susie. Hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie. Hey. Now let's see what we can do with the melody here. Very slowly. Starts on the first string. Down, down, down. Right? You play that note, do the strum, then the note and another note, because there's no time in there for another strum. Then you go to a C chord. It goes dum, dum, bum. Now where's that note? Well, it's actually this note right here. So you have to play that. It's kind of a C6th chord, really, is what it is. Then back to G, and you're on now your second string. Now it goes do, 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 and you can pull off there instead of do a quick pull off. Strum, or you can even do a double pull off. That's a neat little thing you can do. Pull off the third, strum, pull off the second, and strum. Okay, once again from the top. C. But bring your second finger down to the A note. That's the third string, second fret. Then back to your second string with the open G. And now we're going to go to hey, pretty little. Now there's a slide. This is a typical slide you'll do on the banjo from the second to the fourth fret at the third string. Pull off, fourth string. Hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie. Hey, pretty little. Or you could pull off double. Hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie. Hey, here it is again from the top. Now again, instead of going to your first string open, you can also slide up to your second string, third fret. It's the same note. And you can pull that off. Whoop. And you can hammer on your C. And back to your that's your D7th. Slide. Black-eyed Susie. Hey, pretty little black-eyed Susie. Hey. Now, that's something you can rewind and go over and over again until you've got it. And one thing that I should really make very clear here is that you'll notice that I never play these things the same way twice, and you probably won't either. And one of the wonderful things about this kind of music is that it's very improvisational, and once you learn these little tricks, the pull-offs, the hammer-ons, the slides, there's an infinite variety of ways that you can do these songs. So if you look at this, go through one time and you see, hey, wait a minute, he didn't do it the same way the second time he did it. Well, it's just because that's the way it is. You don't play these things the same way twice. So you should strive for that. Strive for getting this into your fingers, into your body, into your soul, and try to play these tunes so that they come out different every time, and they're fun to do and they're fresh each time you do them. Now I know at this stage of the game you're still getting used to the banjo. It's a new instrument for you. You'll probably say, yeah, easy for him to say, but believe me, after you've practiced this for a while, after you've had the banjo, you'll start to feel this become part of you, and it really will happen. So be a little bit encouraged about this. Don't get discouraged. I realize that all of these things are new, the slides, the pull-offs, the hammer-ons. I'm trying to throw a lot of things at you at the beginning here so that you get a lot out of the money you spend for this video, so that you really come away with it feeling like there's a lot of material for you to work on. And once you work on these, when you go to the next video, you'll find that, gee, this is easy, it's fun. I'm moving on to a whole new realm of things. So I hope that makes sense. Let's go on to something else. Now, as Pete Seeger and many other people have shown, this style of playing is wonderful for singing folk songs and ballads. I want to show you one song that I'm sure you know, and I'll show you how this fits together with the up-picking and the chords that we already know in the key of G. And then we'll see what I can show you that will enhance the song a little bit as well. This is The Banks of the Ohio. You probably know this. I asked my love to take a walk, just to walk a little way. As we walked, we'd have a talk about our coming wedding day. Here's the chorus. So only say that you'll be mine in no other's arms entwined, down beside where the waters flow, down by the banks of the Ohio. Okay, that's a really pretty song. I'm sure you've heard it. Lots of people have recorded it. It's one of the most popular of the old mountain ballads. Now, you probably noticed that I was playing that, nothing very much different than what we were doing before. Hammering on, starts out in G, ask my love to take a walk. It goes to the D7th, and you can either just do the D7th plain with the up-picking, or you can do a little pull-off on the first string. Just to walk, stays on the D7th, a little way. Now there's your G again, and I'm pulling off, or you can do the hammer-on. As we walk, now it's going to go to C. So one nice thing to do is to add a note, the 3rd fret of the 4th string, which makes it a G7th chord. You can also add it to the 1st string 3rd fret, and it'll do the same thing. Remember, those are both Ds, so either one, you're changing that to an F note, which makes your chord a 7th. It's called a G7th chord. As we walked, I like it up here on the 4th string, we'd have a talk, and it goes down to a nice lead-in to your C. So it goes from this to this. And when you're on the C, another nice thing you can do is do a hammer-on the 3rd string. About our coming wedding, there's your D7th, and back to a G. Now the chorus is exactly the same. Only say that you'll be mine in no other's arms entwined, down beside, add that 7th, where the waters flow, down by the banks of the Ohio. Now let's say you want to play the melody. You want to take a little break. I'm doing it very slowly here. Now I went out to that F sharp there that we talked about before, into a D7th. Adding that 7th note, C. Now, I don't think I need to go into that in any greater detail. It's not any different, for the most part, than anything else I did, and if you rewind and watch it carefully or use the tablature that I send along, you should be able to play that with just a little bit of work. And it's a really pretty song. Sing all the verses, play it over and over again. Get a friend who plays guitar to help you out. You know, if you get a guitar player or a piano player or somebody who can play rhythm, it's a big help when you're doing these things because it'll keep you on track, it'll force you to play with good time. So if you get a friend who plays rhythm guitar, that'll really be a nice thing. Or even plays fiddle, and you can play fiddle and banjo duets. It's a beautiful sound. So try that out. Well, I hope you feel that this tape has given you a good start on the banjo, and it's really sparked your interest and given you the impetus to go on to other things. And what I would advise you to do, very strongly, is to get some songbooks. Listen to some records. Get as many of these kinds of country and folk songs as you can, these 3-chord songs, and try them out on the banjo. Some of them may be harder than others. You may find that some of them you can't quite get the hang of yet, but you'll find that there's an awful lot of great songs. And I'll even make a list of some songs that I would suggest you to try just by ear. Well, I hope this tape has given you a really good start on the banjo and has given you the impetus to go on and really dig in and study more about the instrument. It's a really fun instrument. There's endless possibilities with it. And I hope we hear from you. You can always write to me at Homespun Tapes. Thanks a lot for joining me. I'm going to go out with a song called The Cannonball. I'll see you on the next tape. Starch my jumpers, wash my overalls, boarding that train they call the Cannonball from Buffalo to Washington. My baby left me, she even took my shoes. Didn't leave me nothing but them long, lonesome blues. Now she's gone, she's solid gone.